Matt Rhodes pointed out some mistakes in the SMAEV video which I uploaded. First of all, Denis Kutsin is not going to be SMAEV's next opponent. In fact, he's the owner of Siberian Power Show and a business partner of Matt Rhodes. So that confusion was totally on me. But there was another confusion. SMAEV himself mentioned in one of the videos that he never really talked about competing at East versus West. He just asked someone to get a sponsor in general, and that person somehow misunderstood him, and he created this narrative that SMAEV is looking for a sponsor because he wants to compete at East versus West. In fact, SMAEV is against East versus West. He believes that that's not a league worth competing in. They don't even pay their athletes. I'll let you listen to SMAEV himself.
What about East-West? Are you going to play there?
We already talked about this at the beginning of the stream. Never made any statement about performing at East-West. He hired a manager whose task was to find out YouTube. After finding YouTube ads, he went and started negotiating with East-West and other nonsense. I'll say it again, I don't trust anyone right now. I don't understand the athletes at East-West, because what's the point of competing if you're all shouting that these are tournaments, that it's such a high level. 5 tournaments in a row, they delay pay many of 25. They keep going, keep competing. We're told,
Hoping that
well, we'll pay you for the fight. Then another one goes by, the third match is all happening. Well, let's do the next one. For 5 or 6 fights in a row, they're told they'll pay, but they didn't pay them. Don't just leave for no reason. You're telling me about East-West when they don't even pay professional athletes who've been competing there for years. Why go there? What's the point? I don't trust any of them. When bloggers here constantly see people.
So finally, I would say that not that SMAEV was getting invited anytime soon, but looks like even if he gets invited, he's not interested in going to East versus West. The legend John BRZENK has recovered from his back surgery and he's back on the arm wrestling table. John and Brandon Allen were arm wrestling yesterday, and I have to say that John was looking solid. I thought that the back surgery is going to take a lot away from him, but apparently that doesn't seem to be the case. The cupping is still there, the hand control was still awesome. Brandon could never get into his King's move. So does that mean it's over for Brandon? Does that mean Brian Shaw is going to run him over just like John was doing in that practice? It may be a possibility, but not because of this practice pull. John and Brandon have practiced together more than once before this as well, and all of their practices have looked very similar. John has hand control and Brandon struggles to get any kind of pronation whatsoever. But then towards the end, Brandon starts stopping John. But I'll still say that even in the practice pulls that were 3 years old, Brandon was looking better against John than what he did in this recent practice pull. John is clearly not as strong as he was 3 years ago. He's just recovering from the surgery, so there is no way he's on that level now. Brandon, on the other hand, has been constantly training for arm wrestling, so it isn't even a possibility that he hasn't gotten stronger since then. So the math is not mathing here. John is weaker, Brandon is stronger, and still John is looking better than before against Brandon on the arm wrestling table. So this makes me question whether it's just a styles problem for Brandon or whether these two arm wrestled before this. We can see that Brandon is sweating already, so maybe he practiced a little bit more than John. But still, if I was Brian Shaw, I wouldn't be putting too much value in this practice pull. Does Brian Shaw have the hand control of John BRZENK? Maybe, maybe not. He definitely has the size advantage. He will have the height advantage. So maybe climbing over Brandon's King's move will be even easier for him. And I would suggest that if it is a good match, or maybe even if someone wins dominantly in this Brian Shaw versus Brandon match, the winner should get John BRZENK. The guy is 61 years old. He has already had many difficult matches. I know he has announced his retirement, but he should be able to come back. And in the past, if I remember correctly, John has shown some interest in arm wrestling Brian Shaw. So if Brian wins this match, then definitely John versus Brian is the next match that must happen. That's it for this video. Thanks for watching. Like the video and I'll see you again.